placenta, which is what feeds the baby for the entire time that they're in utero, is what they would
I
call
didn't know
it.
he made the placenta with his sperm.
Yes,
That's crazy.
yes, he does. So there's a lot more of the man in that process as well than what is known a lot of the times. But I think that it also when with what you were saying, just because that man is put on a pedestal because he's gone through what he's gone through and he's got all these scars and he's made it through, and that same woman could have gone through those same things and she's looked at as like down bad basically because she had to go through those things. It doesn't make the man any less fucked up, especially mentally. They can look real cool because they went through all this stuff,
I'm saying
but
what
they're still
society
holding that
values as.
trauma.
I'm just saying how society values people. I'm not saying how we want to view ourselves, because obviously a woman who's 40 and gone through a lot of shit, she's gonna say, I'm still, and in the eyes of God, that woman is still valued. Okay, she is still she is still valuable. But all I'm saying is that a 40-year-old guy who went through the same fucking shit, if he did all that and he's still a millionaire, he's still killing it. If she went through all that and she's a millionaire, the guys, she's still gonna have trouble dating. She's still gonna have trouble getting a guy that want to have her kids. Whereas like a guy who's a millionaire who went through all that shit and he's like perfect, he's getting better at everything. He's constantly getting better. Those are the guys that run everything in society.
That's because women will accept anything.
No, it's because trauma. I'm telling you, trauma is a good thing for men. If we look around, like, y'all really got to understand that trauma for men is good, because that's how I learned. See, what you got to understand is, like, for everything in life, I failed at a lot of things. I failed at multiple businesses before I ever had my first successful one. The men, like, that is literally the path to greatness, is stumbling uphill. It is tumbling all the way up the hill. And so for a guy, because you gotta understand, our value is different. Okay, women get y'all's value up front. Okay, at 18 years old, y'all are trust fund babies. Okay, because your beauty gives you so much power at a young age that men don't get until 30, 35. Once we build our $1 million, we are self-made millionaires. And so, like, we're not the same. We're all, a lot of this talk sometimes goes back to thinking a blank slate, that like men and women are the same, and you just always got to remember we're actually quite opposites in almost everything. What we're attracted to, what we want in each other, like just everything. We're absolute opposites, and like that's what makes everything so complicated, is because we love to project what we want or like what we think, and then we realize, oh, that's the opposite, or the other sex is the opposite of me.
I think that there's a difference between going through trauma and being resilient through adversity, because learning how to hear a no and take it, and that's ego 100%. You have to learn how to take no's, and I think that what you're describing is kind of toxic, as a lot of men um, don't know how to take no, and they take that as trauma, because it does hurt y'all when y'all fail. Everybody's gonna fail though. So it's like we all do go through that one thing. We're all gonna hear no. We're all gonna have those failures. But I think that those no's and those failures aren't necessarily trauma. That's like,
Men
of
have
course,
the
life
biggest
is.
burden of performance, though.
Of course, I can definitely agree with that. Y'all are expected to perform at 100% at all times because y'all don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Period.
Also, too,
y'all just don't.
Yeah.
It comes in play, like, if you know what your trauma is, and you like are still acting upon it,
Yeah.
and that's
So like
called not growing.
another thing. So like
Yeah.
guys, like I'm not gonna sit here and say all men, but guys are really forced to take accountability. Okay, so say like we actually do have trauma because we were beaten at 7 years old or 8 years old or something like that. Because of how a man's life works, like if I want to play sad or depressed at 20 years old, like who the fuck is going to care? Nobody cares. Okay, nobody gives a fuck about men. That's why our suicide rates are 9 times that of women's after a marriage. Okay, 9 times. The guy is 9 times more likely. We really don't. We are the disposable sex. We are meant to just be thrown away sometimes, and that's it. And honestly, that's just how the shit's set up, and that's okay, kind of. But at the same time, like, you got to understand, since we're forced to take accountability to make our lives better, sometimes y'all don't have to take accountability. That's why the world is so messed up today, is because a lot of women don't take accountability at all for like how fucked up they are. Like, they sit there and they think they're the shit whenever they're really not. I'm forced to. Okay, if I was the 30-year-old that was fat living in my mom's basement, accountability slaps me in the face every fucking day. If a woman is 30 years old and fat and living in her mom's basement, she can still go get some dick from Tyrone. It's not the same.
Not Tyrone.
Yeah, I mean, I can also say Edgar.
Okay,
Yeah, she she went to Edgar that time.
I don't think that that's the case. I think that, like, this is a man's world. I think that y'all are a lot less disposable than
We
they
go to
be
war for a
saying.
reason, though.
Yeah, no, we are
Um,
disposable. Like if you look at World War I and World War II,
But
like there
that's
was
all.
countries where almost all the men got wiped out, and there was only
But that's all this. That's all. That's the culture. That's toxic masculinity. Y'all are supposed to be the soldiers. Y'all are supposed to be going out
what
to war for
what
whatever
what is
reason.
toxic
Y'all have to
masculinity
be.
really quick? What is that?
I think it's just basically the not think. It is basically just the idea that men are not allowed to display whatever the characteristic may be due to society's view that men should not be emotional or show their vulnerabilities.
That's toxic masculinity. What do you think it is?
I mean, when it comes to what she just explained, when it, like being vulnerable, I also think what's that word we were just talking about? Like their ego.
Mm-hmm.
Like ego is really big too.
That's toxic masculinity. What do you think it is?
I was trying to sit here and think about it still.
I
Toxic masculinity. I would say I would kind of agree with Kat about it's okay to show emotions and vulnerability.
Trying to touch it too much.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm trying to think. Ego.
Yeah,
ego.
but just what they
ego,
said basically.
ego plays a good role in some parts, but pride.
Okay. What do you think toxic masculinity is?
I feel like there's both. Like there's like points in my life where I can be like nothing could be worse. So like as far as like toxic masculinity, I think it does kind of come back to accountability. Like a lot of the time, men and women are very different, and from my experience, men think that they're not being heard when they are. They're not getting a response. But I've also seen toxic femininity, and it's just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that actually right after like toxic
agree.
femininity, like how y'all see that, like if like which one is worse, toxic femininity or toxic masculinity?
It's equal to me. I mean,
Equal?
if
Do you think
someone
it's
has
equal?
toxic traits, they're just gonna have toxic
Yeah,
traits.
you think it's equal?
I think it depends on the person.
Mhm.
I could like grit my teeth.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you too. But honestly, I've just seen it more in my point of view in females. To be honest,
I think it definitely depends on the person as well. I think that I've met very toxic thinking women as well as very toxic thinking men, and but I do think that they're both equally detrimental to, if we go back to our original
it's
point,
like they're gonna fuck everything up.
Yeah.
So like I really don't think there is toxic masculinity at all, and I'll explain to y'all why really quick. Because what did y'all say? Y'all said ego, and then the other thing was emotions and stuff like that.
No, literally,
like not being vulnerable.
it was just the idea that is pushed on men that they can't be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'll give you a good well, here's the thing though. Masculinity isn't toxic when it's running into a burning building and saving somebody, okay? So like we like to pick and choose like what's toxic masculinity sometimes when masculinity in general is a very good thing. It's just all very good. And then the reason why we call what y'all thought was toxic is because of a lack of knowledge and understanding of men and how men and women are different, okay? Because like you brought up, the vulnerability and stuff. Men and women are not the same. And I know why you say that because women really do love to talk about your issues. Y'all are social creatures. You are way more socially calibrated than a guy. Y'all's brains are so wired to be so social compared to us. We are in love with, like, when we're born, even as children, men want to play with things and women want to play with people. Like we're two completely different things, and there's a good reason for that. Like because women were amazing at taking care of families and keeping structure of a household and keeping communities together, and men are amazing at going and building shit and fucking hunting or whatever the fuck we're supposed to go do. For hundreds of thousands of years, we had to have these type of traits to like make us better at those things. So when we sit here and tell guys you need to be vulnerable, you need to be all these things, we emote differently. Okay, so you may emote well by talking about, and I'm saying this all as a guy with BPD, okay? I have gone to therapy for years because I had my own emotional. I'm an emotional guy. I'm one of the few guys that is emotional that needs to go get doctor's help. But for most men out here, they just need to go to the fucking gym. They need to get a hobby because when you work out, you're releasing endorphins from your muscles. When you work out, when you're doing a hobby, when you're competing at something, you're releasing things that are going to solve all your depression and all your anxiety or all the things that make you sad. Like we just emote differently. And like I totally understand why you think that though, because you think, oh,